I think that San Antonio doesn't really recognize how good it has it sometimes. I see a lot of green space that's not utilized where it could be, and we're so dependent on grocery stores and things, whereas we have all this space around us that we could be using. My name's Luke Hoy. Professionally, I'm a landscape designer here in San Antonio, and I'm a horticulturist as well. My role here at the Beacon Hill Community Garden is as a steward. So if you look at where we are, we're up on a large slope here. It was basically a spot, a dumping ground that was filled with mattresses and tires and things like that. There were concerned neighbors. They got kind of tired of it, and they decided to come and begin work on it. I think the first things that they did, they planted trees. One day they showed up and all the trees had been mowed down by the city. So, that really angered the neighbors and everything. And at that point they applied for the first grants and to designate this as a community garden. The first grant covered like a huge amount of soil that was brought in, and that's how we built this slope here that the garden is on. As we go in, the first thing that you're going to see is our vegetable area. This main area here is kind of where we focus on growing food for the community. This is a communal space. We've recently switched from everybody having private beds to we all maintain the beds and then we all reap whatever the harvest is. Mm-hmm. So we try out a lot of different things here. We're focusing mostly these days on heat-tolerant vegetables and things that do well in the South. We work with Southern Seed Exposure Seed Company, and they provide seeds that are relevant to our area. Right here we're doing a Three Sisters planting, corn, pole beans, and squash. This is an indigenous planting that we're trying out here, hoping that it'll be wonderful. Of course, we have peppers, iron and clay peas, so they're like black-eyed peas. Those do really well. They're a cover crop. They do excellent in the South. They'll cover the soil, they'll add nitrogen to the soil, and they will produce lots of peas throughout the summer. Super great. We've got Malabar spinach, rosemary, of course. We're growing some amaranth. This is a heat-tolerant plant. Leeks do wonderful here. This is our herb bed: yarrow, bay, oregano, epazote, and basil. So we're trying to, give people a little bit of everything to pull from. If you're not really comfortable coming and harvesting vegetables, you can come and harvest some herbs. Most people are familiar with that. As we move over here, this is our butterfly garden. This is one of the original areas of the garden. So we have Maximilian sunflower over here. Wild bergamot, salvias, of course, do really well in our region, Salvia gregii. And in the last year or so, we've put a lot of work into the perennial plantings of this garden in general. But this is one of them that seems to have done really well, and it really works in correlation, pollinating the vegetables that we have. One of the things that we did on our grant is put in these informative signs. So, why native plants? This is a garden for pollinators. All those signs that will lead people through, and it shows intention. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important with the city too, is to say, hey, look, this is why we have tall grass. This is why we have, this certain plant that maybe somebody views as having thorns or whatever, but that's why this is here. Mm-hmm. Because there have been instances where, somebody comes and mows down all of our grass because it's deemed too tall, or, so having proper signage is really important, and we did focus on that. This is an area where I think that showing intention, having a color scheme, having evergreen plants, basically having a functioning landscape design is really important in a public garden. So the goal is for this to always look good. I don't know what, it's going to be 102 today, and it's going to keep coming, and this will continue to look good because we chose the right plants. And we chose a color scheme, that feels happy, and it shows intention. And so I love that. I think that, repetition and keeping it kind of simple in a design can be very effective. Most times when I look at, some designs, people love plants, so they will put as many different plants as they can into a design. Whereas if you sort of dial it back a little bit and focus on what the strongest elements are or what you really like, it'll be a more effective design in the long run. Definitely always think about evergreen structure and seasonal change. So when I design something, the first thing I think about is what is it going to look like in the winter? So we want to consider not only spring. Everybody thinks, oh my God, spring is like, blooms everywhere. And yeah, we want that, but that's not going to last all year. So consider your evergreen structure. I would say do some research on just basic landscape design principles, like unity, repetition, form, texture, all those things. If you kind of look into that a little bit, it will really help you design your own landscape. I think one thing I love, I kind of referenced this already, but this is a garden of junk. So this is just found objects. I made this, it's a bowling ball that I mosaicked and, put on a bird bath stand. So just stuff like that. I mean, I hope it makes somebody happy. It was fun to do. And, you know, it looks good out here. It has that sense of place. Right now, this area of the garden is like blue, yellow, white. You're not seeing everything blooming at once, but that's kind of our base color scheme. But we're gonna continue to add things. I mean, I've added some yarrow and some evening primrose and stuff, and it's this is kind of what we could do with our initial grants. This, and then I mean, we landscaped the whole garden, so it's not just this, but we got our base color scheme, and now we're adding to it as we come into plants or receive more money, or we find something we really like, but our base is done. We have, within the last year, converted back areas of the garden that were really hard to maintain based on their location to, we took them from being food producing private plots to landscaped plots, which will benefit the garden. These trees are small right now, but this is an arroyo sweetwood. And then we have some perennial plants like rock rose, salvias, skullcaps. So, one thing we really struggle with here are invasive weeds. Bermuda grass is terrible. Probably 50% of our time is spent keeping this garden from being covered by weeds. So our next grant is going to be infrastructure related. We're going to take our existing beds and put footings in and actually, hardscape them in, so we're not constantly fighting Bermuda grass that's going over and under rubble. Right now we're working on this community scale compost system. It was designed by my partner, and the intention behind this is to give the community a place to come and drop off their food scraps, come and drop off their brown goods like wood chips and stuff like that, and a place to learn about composting and then also benefit from the compost. So once the compost is produced from the community input, they are free to use it. It's not just for the garden. We will definitely use it, but this is another example of good infrastructure. We're building something that will last. Our prior compost system was built out of wood, and it over the years deteriorated. So this is a 3-bay system that will be here, a decade from now, it should still be here. We're lucky to have live oaks, got some good trees. This is an example, you can see how this is a culvert. We do have a lot of native plants now here, in the shade, and people frequently think that you can't do things in the shade or they feel limited by the shade color wise, whereas in Texas shade is a gift. This is so hot here, we're so lucky to have good trees, and you can do lots of things to benefit pollinators in the shade. We've used Turk's cap, columbine, frostweed, tropical sage. all these little, understory plants have added to a park-like setting, where people can come and relax, and it doesn't feel barren. It feels like you're kind of enveloped by plants. We're always working with the land here, on this slope. Now we have grasses to control erosion. As this is a former culvert, there is erosion that's coming down. So these grasses and things will, it's aesthetically pleasing, but it also is a good example of erosion control. Here we have our rain catchment system. These are all things that have been grant funded over the years. This is one project that was done. This is another that was built by the UTSA School of Architecture a number of years ago, and it's, really serves as a great gathering point in our garden and a great shade structure. Work days are every second Saturday of the month. Not here every day, but at least 3 times a week. Just kind of watering, making sure things look good. We are in a period still where we are reclaiming this garden from some years where of harsh climate issues and a drop in volunteer activity. So we are still at a point where this garden needs maintenance. I love being here, so it really is a labor of love, but we are doing things so I don't have to be here, or other volunteers don't have to be here as often. Some of those things would be, we have drip irrigation that needs a little bit of troubleshooting, some repairs before total summer, but focusing on things like that, making sure our drip irrigation is working properly will keep us from having to come every day. So, we're trying to grow things that we know will do well here. We don't want to put something in the ground that is really going to struggle, or somebody has to be out here to baby it. So we do things that we know are going to work, like Kentucky Wonder pole beans, and jelly knot corn is a variety that we know does well. But we also try out interesting things that we haven't used, like the amaranth, or heirloom varieties of okra. We're trying to have some security with the things that we know, and then try new things in our region, because our region is changing quickly. A garden is never done. It's never going to be perfect. There's lots of struggles, lots of triumphs, but having a third space is really important too, as we have all these commercialized spaces that you have to pay for, cafes or anything like that. You even have to buy like a cup of coffee or something. This is a space that's free, that you can come and walk around and enjoy. We're not going to charge you. This is a communal model too, so if you want to, get some herbs or veggies or whatever, this is a place that you can do that. And I think just, in a climate that is so difficult, coming to a garden that is beautiful and that is working in this environment gives people a lot of hope for their own setting. Absolutely. And they don't even need their own setting. I mean, if you live in an apartment, or you don't have time or whatever, this is a communal space that you can come and enjoy and use and contribute to.
Thanks for joining me and Luke for this walk through the Beacon Hill Community Garden. As you can tell, that space is special, and it's thanks in large part to thoughtful design, resilient plants, and years of community care. So if you're in the San Antonio area and looking for someone to help bring that kind of intentionality to your own landscape, be sure to check out Luke's work at oigardens.com. And if you're just getting started with Texas native plants, I put together a free email mini course to help you out. It's called 7 Things I'd Wish I Known Before Starting with Texas Native Plant Landscaping. Short lessons, many things that I've learned the hard way. You can sign up at ensembletexas.com/txnative. The link's also in the description. Also, if you liked this tour with Luke, you might enjoy my tour with Larissa, or as she's known as the San Antonio Soil Sister, who has transformed her front yard into a high production veggie garden. You can find that video linked down below. Thanks again. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.